Everybody, I'm Courteney Paton. I'm a divisional program specialist with the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. This is a fairly standard update that we have for you today. In the past, you may have heard a similar update from Doug Hollum or Lisa Ross. I'm new to the unit. I joined back in September now. Alongside myself is Mark Harris, and Mark is acting in the position as a divisional program specialist until this September, at which point Julia Tonks will be joining us back. So just a few names that you guys may be familiar with, and some new faces as well. I want to note before I dive into everything today that you may hear reference to environmental compliance officers. Over the past year and a bit, we have recently transitioned the names from Ag Environmental Officer or Agriculture Environmental Officers to Environmental Compliance Officers. This was mainly done to support program areas and workloads, as well as support during filling vacancies. So you guys may have a few new experiences with different environmental compliance officers or others, so just want to make you aware of that change. Today we'll be going over some really high-level stats regarding compliance done by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. So with that, if I can change my screen, there we go. Overall, we're going to be starting off by just going over our inspection program for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. So that ran from April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024. And we'll also be summarizing our agricultural abatement program for the winter of 2023 and 2024. For the purposes of the Nutrient Management Act, when we're referring to winter activities, we're specifically focused in on from December 1st to March 31st, just for clarity there. And I'm just having issues with my screen right now. There we go. Okay. So our inspection program is primarily based on field visits. However, it does include some desktop audits of activities as well. We focus on responsive field work, which is largely complaint driven or through individuals self-reporting an issue. This work is generally limited to incidents that are of high risk to the environment or human health and safety. So looking forward to our inspection work that we conducted for 2023 and 2024. So our inspection approach is primarily outcome focused. So really looking at identifying and addressing any actual impending impacts, as well as the assessments, not focusing on the details of an audit related to administrative requirements, really getting into actual or impending impacts that are going to cause those issues to the environment or human health and safety. Primarily, when we're doing our inspections, we're looking at the components of interest, primarily looking at storage facilities, livestock areas, deadstock areas, fields, as well as NASM plans. And the scope of our agricultural inspections is truly defined by these key areas, so you'll often hear us refer to them. My apologies, I'm just having some technical difficulties on my end switching these slides. So for the fiscal year for 2023 and 2024, we had a total of 179 planned inspections completed, 57 of which addressed management of non-agricultural source material. These NASM-related inspections were primarily field visits, assessments of NASM plans, assessments of land application activities for both ASM and NASM, as well as storage assessments. Doing a bit of a deeper dive into our NASM inspections, of the 57 inspections, 56% were in compliance and 44% had violations associated with them. A large portion of these inspections had issues that were related to administrative issues in nature. And if we remove those administrative violations, we would have had a compliance rate of 81%, with only 19% of inspections continuing to have violations. With that in mind, of these inspections, each inspection is done by an environmental compliance officer and can have multiple violations associated with it. So of the 25 inspections where violations occurred, there were a total of 73 violations, so averaging around 3 violations per non-compliant inspection. The range of the violations include NASM planners not for failing to prepare a written record of the date that they explain the NASM plan, having a expired NASM plan on site, NASM materials not being incorporated into the plan, not doing amendments, having spills or inappropriate storage, spreading within setback areas, amongst other issues. Of the 28 of these violations were linked to site sketches and land application reports, and 15 were linked to field sketches, missing wells, surface water, tile inlets, and improper setbacks. It should be emphasized that this data is from the 2023-2024 fiscal year, and if you remember last year at this update call, Doug Holm and Tom Bender took some time to walk everybody through site sketches and some recurring issues that were being found on those sketches. This was towards the end of last fiscal, and so hopefully next year we'll see some of the benefits that presentation had relating to that reduction. If you weren't able to attend that meeting or you don't remember the presentation, it is available still online on the Business Development Center Ridgetown Campus YouTube page. So I highly encourage all of you to continue to use that presentation and that information, as a lot of these violations, as you can tell, are primarily administrative in nature, and one of those things that we get into a little bit of a back and forth, and just making sure that everybody's aware of what's on site and everything's properly outlined on the sites. All of these issues were addressed through voluntary abatement. So 84% of these issues have since been resolved, and 16% are continuing with abatement follow-up. These numbers may have gone down since then, but that was the most recent poll we had done on it. Switching gears to abatement activities in the winter of 2023 to 2024. In total, we had 53 incidents reported, which was down from 82 incidents from the 2022 to 2023 fiscal year. 12 of these incidents were linked to winter spreading, which is down from 29 the year prior. 7 incidents were linked to spills, which was down from 9 the year prior. 6 incidents were linked to nutrient storage, which was down from 8 the year prior, and 20 incidents were not related to those categories. This is, in general, typically linked to things such as issues with odor, dead stock, or other issues of unknown origin. So this could be, these items could be in compliance, and the environmental compliance officer shows up following a complaint, and they aren't able to necessarily find the source of the complaint, or its issues unrelated to spreading spills and storage of material. When we look at the breakdown of material in each of the 53 incidents, 38% of the time it was linked to manure, 13% of complaints were linked to biosolid fertilizers, 6% were linked to NASM materials, and 43% were either an unidentified material or things like dead stock complaints. For our incident reports related to manure, we had a total of 20 manure-related incidents, and we've broken it down by areas associated with the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks district boundaries. So typically, best rule of thumb, if you aren't exactly sure where that boundary lies, it's typically closest to one of those district offices. 9 of these were linked to spreading, 3 were linked to storage, 2 were linked to spills, and the remaining 6 were unrelated to these categories, typically things associated with odor complaints from neighbors or nearby communities. Another thing that we often hear about or get complaints about, and I think we have a growing interest or piqued interest again in, is biosolids and pelletized fertilizers. So in total, we had 7 complaints linked to this, with 3 related to spreading. A large amount of these complaints are typically from people who have an opposition to the use of biosolids or may complain about things such as odor. But to be clear, these pelletized fertilizers are regulated under the Federal Fertilizers Act. And so our response and involvement in it can be limited at times. So that was a quick overview of our compliance for the year. I did include here myself and Mark's contact information, just in case anybody ever has any questions or just wants to put some more names to faces and have that extra link there that is available to you. And thank you for the time there. This is all I have. I'm not sure if there's any questions. Otherwise, I will pass it back over to Janet.